Let's get into catalysts today that are going to drive the market. We did a video before. You're going to love this one, so stick around. Let's just jump right in. I do want to thank our sponsor today, and that is iTrust Capital. This is one of the tax benefits that you can go out there and achieve right now, even before the end of the year, and also even into the first of next year, and that is starting to compile or build your own crypto IRA. Works very similar to a regular IRA, so you have a lot of the same tax benefits. Also, opportunities out there to get into tax loss harvesting if you have made gains on other investments and you've had some losses in other things. You can go out there and get a one-for-one tax loss harvest before the end of the year, even up to around $3K if you have not made any capital gains. So there's some things. Always consult with your tax advisor. Get the right person to work with you in doing any of these things, but use our link down below to get started. All right, let's go over to a couple of points I want to hit on. We did this video several weeks back, a month ago, and it was our bull market catalyst video. And we had about, I think, a dozen things or so that most likely you probably have heard of. Now we're going to compile this for you in a way that has some similarities to the last video, but gets into some of the nuances for 2026 that I think are going to be critical to be able to get an up market going forward. One of those is what we're going to see with the government shutdown. Because remember, we just had the longest shutdown ever, all right? We all know that. But there's another one looming right now. And a couple of points I wanted to highlight here in this article that are important is that Congress this year avoided a legislative showdown during the holiday season by extending this through January 30th, simply meaning the fact that they both agreed to extend it maybe gives us some insight that there is some sort of agreement they're not going to do this. But also, Congress hasn't met that deadline in 3 decades. So that is another thing that's looming, that hopefully they're thinking this last shutdown did a lot of damage. Maybe this is the one to avoid if we can do it. And I think the fact that they've given themselves some time to come back after Christmas and New Year's to get it done is good. If you look at the poly market on this, I'll zoom in on that. It has been falling off really since about a week or so ago at 31%, which was a good probability, down from almost 36%, but now hovering right there at 28%. So it still seems as though we're in good shape for no shutdown, but this could spin on a dime if we end up having the Dems and the Republicans start to fight about health care, which I think is going to be the one to pay attention to, because health care is one of the catalysts I think that affects most Americans. It also is one of the things that will get in the way of getting a Clarity Act. Healthcare and some of these other bills that are going through D.C. in January could slow us down. So we need to get this one done. Take a look at this clip.
Is if the government reopened tonight, would Republicans have a plan to address the Obamacare subsidies?
Yes. Yes.
You would have a plan.
We've been working on it since day one of this Congress.
Republicans are advancing real reforms in health care, unlike Democrats.
The chairwoman of the Rules Committee knows I have great affection for her. Let me just go through a list of things here. In February of 2016, we're going to replace Obamacare with something so much better. Nothing followed. 2017, never did. 2018, wait till you see the plans that we have coming out literally over the next 4 weeks. Nothing happened. June 16th, 2019, we'll be announcing it in about 2 months, maybe less. Nothing happened. We're signing in a health care plan within 2 weeks, so nothing happened. July 2020, it might be Sunday. Nothing happened. August 3rd, 2020, it's just about completed. Nothing. 2024, concepts of a plan, nothing happened. In May of 2025, nothing. People are sick and tired of the empty rhetoric. Donald Trump has been president or running for president for like a decade.
So you can see people are getting fed up with this, rightly so. This is one of the big concerns of the American population. The key is that we've got to get something underway, and it's going to need to be somewhat bipartisan to make this work. Why is this important? Because it does affect economy, and I think the economy, of course, has a lot of influence on how investors have a perception of sentiment, but also what they're going to do in terms of investing in its own right. When you look at the economic growth, this is the good sign. If we've got good news coming, this is it. And that is, of course, we've started to see a little bit of domestic product growth. And when you look at GDP starting to climb, I think we were expecting a 3.3 and it came in at 4.3. So very hot for the third quarter. And again, we'll still get that number end of this year I think, a few weeks into January. That'll be the tell, I think, that will give us an indicator if we are actually on an acceleration out of this current economy right now. If you look at the consumer confidence, which is the thing I talk about the most, is it actually fell down 3.8 points. This was in December, and that was down again from last month. But the key is maybe this could be stabilizing here because it has been sliding, but right here we've got a little bit of an uptrend. If you know charts, you know that might signal a little bit of an uptrend. Right there, we saw the last uptrend on this, so maybe there is some opportunity here where the consumer confidence could spike, and of course that usually helps with a lot of things, including jobs, which is one of the biggest ones I am most concerned about. The other thing you have to look at is various surveys estimate that the U.S. consumers plan to spend around $900 to $1,100 per person on gifts and food this holiday season. That's another positive indicator that people have not slowed down. U.S. Inflation through Trueflation at 2.29%. And then if you look at the aggregate at around 28% since January 2020. Remember, inflation is accumulative. It is not that each year. It is accumulating over time. Your dollar continues to be worth less as well as worthless. So you know what to do there. The debasement trade is the only way. Other things that you have to kind of consider is, are they going to get their due? I just don't know if D.C. is ever going to get their due. This was, of course, Senator Kennedy trying to get a bill in there to withhold senator pay during the shutdowns. I don't even know that this would matter because these people, they make so much money on the other side of it that I just don't even, they wouldn't even care, I don't think, the paltry pay they get as a senator or as a congressman. Let's go over and take a look at this right here because this is important, and that is the balance sheet reduction that the Fed is doing, and that, of course, you know what that is. That's QT. It's over. Is QE back in place? Because remember, we had Powell saying we're going to put in $40 billion, we're going to adjust the balance sheet, this is maintenance. But in reality, are we actually looking at the first nice little move up right there? Just a little bit of a move up. Is that the signal that quantitative easing is underway? And is it stealth or silent, or is it actually just the beginning of something much bigger, which many people believe is the case? One thing, though, that I think is going to play into this is going to be the Supreme Court ruling on whether or not Trump's global tariffs are illegal. Now, this is probably going to play out one of two ways. One is they're going to come out illegal, and he's going to keep the tariff revenue because it's going to be very complicated to handle these kinds of, refunds, I guess. Or it's going to come out and not illegal, and that, of course, is going to only energize, I think, this administration that much more. So this is a big one to watch. I think it's a bigger issue than a lot of people are putting on it right now. President Trump also said, anybody that disagrees with me, especially around interest rates, well, we don't care. They're never going to be the Fed chair. And this is listen, you look at the administration, yes, there's been some wins. There's been a lot of losses. To me, this is one that just doesn't need to get out there in the sense of trying to get the market in uproars about a non-neutral Fed. And this is the concern I think a lot of people have. Now, there are a lot of analysts out there that simply say, it doesn't matter, it's never been neutral, it's always been influenced by who's in the office. I get it. But this is getting out there a little bit more blatant. And I think this is where President Trump needs to maybe back it down a bit. Trump says if inflation will take care of itself, and it doesn't, we can always raise rates. That's the first time he has mentioned raising rates ever that I have heard. So I don't know if he is in preparation for a new Fed and how they may massage this through the beginning of next year. Remember, this is orchestrated economic planning, and it happens months and months in. Remember, the amount of confirmation that it's going to take to get a new Fed chair in May will take some time. So there's always going to be that little bit of a window there where we don't really have a confirmed Fed chair. So that in itself could get back into the issue of this, and that is around rates and where they will be. Because remember, that is voted on by all the governors. The other thing that doesn't look good right now is student loan borrowers are in default. This is where they can see their wages garnished. This I hate, because when you have the government now going in, taking your money right out of your wages, that is a big, big problem. Typically, that's only done on IRS seizures and things of that nature. This is a big one, I think, that may backfire on the administration in a big way. Other things that are happening, though, in the market that could be an indicator that we've got some movement is gold. Spot prices right now surging above 4,500, first time in history. Gold is now a $31 trillion asset. This is 7 times larger than NVIDIA. And you guys know that silver surpassed Apple just the other day as the 3rd largest asset class. And when you look at silver, it extended its gains to a record $72 an ounce. This is officially now the 3rd most valuable asset in the world. I'm telling you, we are in a phase right now where tokenization of these kinds of assets and other things like this are going to be a key investment catalyst going into 2026. So anticipate that we are going to see some more movement on this. This was a nice statement here by Adam Kobeisi. He said, the fact that the chart is the 4th largest asset in the world, both incredible and terrifying at the same time. And what he's talking about, the fact that we see these kind of green candles. Most of the time you only see those in meme stocks, right? Somebody said that this morning on CNBC. They were saying that gold has become a meme. And you had Sampson who comes on, Paul Sampson comes on from Data Dash here on our show. Parabolic charts are only terrifying when demand is imaginary. He's going after the issue of silver, which is physical, and this is all around materials. And now maybe the window has finally been opened on silver in terms of a shortage in supply available, because it has been kind of rounded up into these coins and minted into all sorts of tools that you can take physical delivery on. And finally, we're at a state where you've got all these companies and countries that are trying to acquire silver just for manufacturing, which is the real raw need and benefit of silver in general. So that may end up seeing a $100 silver, like many of our analysts have said. So be on the lookout for that one. Here, of course, is Versan over at Black Swan Capitalists. He simply says, the Clarity Act will separate securities from utility. I totally agree. When that happens, market will be forced to reprice overnight. Speculative narratives die. Real utility gets capital. There's a handful of tokens that will get access to that. One of those is going to be XRP. I still believe that's going to be kind of treated that way as far as a true security from utility. And I think in the sense that we are going to see a restructure of how digital assets are looked at once clarity comes through. This is the biggest thing that will happen in 2026. Let me go over to another big thing happening around stable coins and prediction markets. Take a look.
In the world of crypto, if you could only do one thing, you'd invest in which part of it?
Yeah, so stablecoins, I think, is here to stay. I think it's going to grow tenfold. I think prediction markets, here to stay. I think they're going to grow tenfold. You know, when you look at how you get exposure to that in the public markets, it's either, call it, the base layers, right, the Ethereums, the Bitcoins, or it's, Circle or something.
And so the question is whether you think that there is a sort of mass market where everybody's going to be betting as much as the sports books or more. Sort of what does the TAM of that market look like? Total addressable market.
So I think it's humongous, right? So if you look
humongous, meaning more than sports?
I think it's more than sports. Absolutely.
You do?
Right. So if you look at Polymarket volume today, they've gone from 50 million a month in early 24. They're now going to do probably about 4 billion of volume this month, right? Only about 35% of that is sports. Kalshi's a little bit different. It's more of a sports platform because they're infrastructure for Robinhood. But for Polymarket, it's about 35-40%.
Okay.
If you talk to Jeff Sprecher over at ICE, right, he'll tell you he believes in the tokenization of all markets. Like, he believes that is the future. And I can tell you that his perspective is that this is going to be as big as ICE itself.
When you think of tokenized assets and also tokenization, ETH is the pathway. And if you look at this, ETH accumulation is accelerating both on Tom Lee. These are the DATs that are out there, but are the whales out there buying? So is something big brewing? I don't know. George is on something there, maybe. Other things that are happening within ETH is the Glamsterdam upgrade. What this simply is, if you're brand new to our show and you don't know what an ETH upgrade is, we just went through 2 major upgrades with Ethereum. Each time we've had a pretty significant advancement in the technology and its capability. This is the next one that is happening. It's planned to be out in 2026, and it seems to come across as another potential major network upgrade. They're talking about that 2026 could finalize the scope. Key pillars are still in kind of in working position right now, but I anticipate that we're going to see a lot of new innovations around Ethereum, probably to accommodate a lot of what we're going to see in RWAs and tokenized securities coming forward. So be on the lookout for that. I think private chain attributes will also be there as well. Money Market Fund Monitor right now showing just how much money is setting in as we continue to drive money into parked capital. This is one of the big areas outside of locked capital that are exposed to if we see lower Fed fund rates, meaning we don't have money coming in on any kind of yield. An investor is going to be looking for other opportunities, other avenues out there. So this could be one of the signals that we start to see moving into risk assets going into 2026. Another catalyst you got to look at is this one right here. This is, of course, tokenized gold. It's now issued on ETH, which we've had for some time, while gold has hit its all-time high. And remember, as we see a lot more of real-world assets moving on chain, like gold, I think this is going to come with a lot of major assets in the market that's going to create a lot of digital liquidity. And gold is just the beginning. It's a $30 trillion asset now. I don't know that Bitcoin can catch it at the current rate that it is growing right now. And all of that is still pointing to one of the biggest narratives for 2026, which will be tokenized treasuries, securities, and of course, real world assets like this. Tokenized commodities right there. You can kind of see the explosion. And I think, guys, this is just getting started. If this takes off, the catalyst going into, because we're only talking about $3 billion right now on total market cap, the potential here is astronomical. So be on the lookout. These kinds of catalysts that we have to watch as we go into 2026. Of course, clarity is going to still be the bellwether of everything, because that is the trigger moment when all of this starts to cascade going forward. Here, of course, is a prediction from Bitwise where they simply said crypto equities will outperform tech equities. And if you look at the slowdown in the tech market, we've seen a little bit of that final clips coming in from stocks like NVIDIA, Meta, Microsoft, a handful outside of maybe Robinhood, but I wouldn't necessarily definitely call them a tech company. They're more of, I would say more in the banking sector. But the fact that we're going to see that slowing down and that we could see crypto equities become a bigger play, watch out for some IPOs coming up next up. Not very far. Tech stocks will have done well, 140 up in the 30-year or the 3-year, but crypto equities are going to be doing even better. And they're looking at this Crypto Innovators 30 Index, so watch what the guys over at Bitwise are talking about there. I think Matt and his team are going to be looking good. Other things that play into this is the gaming sector, and GTA 6, of course, postponed again. Likelihood right now that this is going to happen, we most likely will see some sort of tokenization inside of GTA 6. And when that occurs, this will be a domino effect in the industry. What I mean by that is it's simply it's not Web3. I'm talking about gaming in general. This will be a domino effect in the industry where we'll see starting a use case baseline of how tokenization is going to be used in a lot of these games going forward. One other clip I wanted to get to was Scaramucci and Novogratz talking about 2026. Take a look.
If you had asked me, I would have said 2025 is going to be a great year for Bitcoin. The shackles are off. The regulatory environment is going to improve, and we're going to the moon. We're going to end the year at 150. Bitcoin. We're sitting here at about 88,000 as we're speaking, so I totally got that wrong. And now the sentiment is decidedly negative, Mike.
Yeah. So what do we have going for us? The sentiment really does stink. I think there's still more healing to do. I'm not worried that we've seen the all-time high in Bitcoin. I just am not. There is a gigantic apparatus behind this asset. Like Wall Street's a selling machine, and we're just getting a lot of these big RIA platforms, geared up to sell. And so I don't think that's going away. We also have an administration that owns a lot of Bitcoin. Personally, they're connected to it. They bet their gig on it. There's no bear market in building crypto infrastructure coming for TradeFi and for crypto. How we get momentum back in crypto pricing has always been about narrative. And we're going to have to see that pick back up and prices beget prices.
I think I like what Novogratz is saying there, but I don't know that I agree with it. It's always been about it has been always about narrative in the past. I don't know that that's going to be what it is in the future. Narratives matter, but I think what he kind of alluded to was that TradFi's trading cycle and how they approach a market is much different than anybody we've ever had in crypto before, because it's always been hodl, and look at the chart go up. But what we're going to probably see in the future is a lot of swing trade opportunities, a lot of in and outs in the market. Yes, capital gains are going to hit you because it's going to be gains on shorter wins. But I think that's more of the 2026 narrative. Now, granted, Clarity Act could change a lot of this because of the influence that we'll see in financial instruments going forward, a lot of new stuff that will hit the markets, and it could drive narrative going forward. And that, again, usually happens in the beginning of something big, just like AI, just like social media. And I think crypto and blockchain are kind of in the same boat. Early stage, yes. But right here you have it. The poll is in. What's on your wish list for the biggest crypto catalyst? Clarity Act is by far the winner there right now on that poll. And I would agree with this one. It is number one for sure. 4-year cycle dead. Interesting that it pulled out 16%. That one's a little bit more intriguing there. And of course, the Fed, I think that's a factor that may be a non-starter because of all the issues that we're going to be facing with the new Fed chair, with a struggling inflation, jobs numbers. We're going to know January 28th on the next Fed meeting, which we'll be airing that live. And if you're not subscribed to the show, make sure and do that right now. And make sure and hit the little bell. It's going to give you a notification when we do these live shows out there, so make sure and do that. And of course, you guys have a Merry Christmas. Make sure and jump into our own private member group. Hit me on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on The Paul Barron Show.